Hello, everyone. This is Ed Carbajal with Spectation Sports. Speaking again with Joe Giannetti, who is fighting on Cage Titans 65 rematch for you, right?
Yes, sir.
Thanks for taking time to talk, man. Long time no speak.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to be back. It has been a while.
Yeah, so I mean, for folks, we were just kind of mentioning it before we started recording, but like the last time we talked, you're coming off of the stomach thing that happened with you in the fight where the fight fell out, and then you went through all of that whole nightmare. And I know you picked up the you fought soon after that against Dufour, which I know you want to get that one back to. Um, but then some time passed. You did your last fight against Casey, picked up a super cool, like, I don't know where you got that kick from, but I mean I rewatched it this morning because we were talking today, and I'm like, wow, what an amazing finish. So just catch us up to how you've been. I mean, the ups and the downs and stuff like that, and where you're at now.
Yeah, man, it's been a lot, especially in the last 7, 8 months. Obviously losing to Dufort sucked, and more so in the fashion that it happened because it was just one of those like I didn't show off my skill set. I think me and him put on a great fight if we were to ever rematch one day. And that was the biggest thing. Like I always tell people, like obviously I hate losing, but the only thing I hate more than losing is not being, my best self. Even if I'm feeling like crap that day or that night on fight night, I need to go out there and do my best and put all my skills out there. And I didn't. So that one stung. Um, I was able to turn around and get that win over Pat Casey. I've been practicing that kick forever. So that's why everybody's like, that's insane. I was like, I've thrown that millions of times. I've just never had the right opportunity. Um, which I think people should be keeping an eye on for because I have so many other tricks that I use in the gym all the time that I get yelled at to use, and I'm just waiting for the perfect moment for some of them. But I've just been waiting to get back in the cage. I've been training as hard as I can.
So, Nick, because we talked about the kick, and I have it on my notes. So, I mean, the thing is, you did it now, so people are going to look out for it. Especially, it's a highlight, right? So now you can't always use it, right? But
Yeah.
watching that fight again, I just watched it this morning. I saw you kept touching his lead leg with your lead leg, like enough. Like, what made you realize he's going to take the bait at some point? Because that was like a Taekwondo switch kick type of move. And I was just like, the whole fight, I'm like, he's just touching his leg. He's touching his leg. He's not. It's not like with intention to hurt him. It's more like it was just like a peekaboo toward, like, it just
Yeah.
flipping at him. So can you just like you said that there's a lot of tricks that you don't show. I mean, where did that come from? Is that an AKA
Uh,
move, or where did that come from?
no, like I said, I've been practicing that probably almost as long as I've been training. When I got into the sport, nothing's really changed as far as my mindset. I want to be an exciting fighter. I was a fan first, so I want to finish fights. I want to be in and out. Obviously, if it goes later, it goes later. But I'm trying to finish guys the entire fight. Um, and that one specifically, I just put out a couple leg kicks and I saw his reaction, and I was
Mhm.
like, okay, I think if I sit on this, I can bait out an even bigger reaction. And I was able to, and it's funny because, like I said, I have these tricks but they're not go-to. So even that one, like I know people will be watching out for it, but when I threw it and it worked, as my foot came down and he came falling behind it, I was watching in slow-mo, like in real time, like, holy shit, that actually worked. So it was a really cool feeling.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you did your celebration, and then you were composed and respectful, and that was just a great show of sportsmanship. But the other thing I noticed, like, talking about, like, you had the issue with the stomach where the one fight fell out, and then you mentioned the Dufort fight. I'm wondering, like, personally, the lesson learned from, like, were you rushing back to it? Because just the difference between of the look in your eyes from the Casey fight to the Dufort fight, when you I could see you were so in the zone in the Casey fight, as far as reading him and just going with the flow of the fight, where the other fight that didn't go your way with Dufort, it just seemed like there was more internal, like you weren't dialed in. Was it because you feel? Do you think, in retrospect, was it rushing back too soon after the whole health ordeal, or like, what do you take away from everything?
It sucks because like I've talked about it. I've talked about it a bunch with like my inner circle, and I
Mm,
hate talking about it, publicly because it always comes off like excuses. There were
yeah.
things, there was definitely a lot of things internal going on in that moment, and my close friends even said to me, they're like, "Dude, I don't know what it was, but you just did not look like you in there. It looked like you were thinking about something else seconds before the fight started.
Mm,
And unfortunately I was some stuff going on the day of, some stuff that was just kind of like out of routine,
mhm,
and stuff leading up to the fight. But it's one of those things where it's like I know everybody deals with it, so I'm not gonna say like, oh, I lost to Dufort because A, B, C, and D. Like I lost to Dufort because he took me
mhm.
down and choked my ass out. Um, did those things affect me being my best self? 100%. But when the door closes and the ref says go, it doesn't matter if it's your best or worst self. You got to go out there and get the win.
Yeah, for sure, and I think a lot of fans forget that. I mean, it's a sport, but you're still human beings that have human problems that you. eh, The cool thing about martial arts is what's great about martial arts as a hobbyist myself. You can always disconnect. That's what's cool about like when you're training, everything else goes away. So, but that's not always the case for it's not like that every day. Just like there's good days and bad days, but the other question I have for you, just because I'm looking at the Casey fight, and I know you like. I mean, you said it at the end of the fight too. I know you like 155. That's your where the bullseye is, but you look so good at welterweight.
Yeah, I actually, my whole family was like, "Oh, cool, so you're done at lightweight?" And I was like, "What?" And I had a lot of people that night saying that I should stick around at welterweight. But I really wanted to. I really want to do it at 55. It's where the UFC is looking for me. That's where I've been for so long, and I
Mhm,
truly feel like with the right systems around me and the right knowledge that 55 is a perfect home. This fight camp, especially, all goes according to plan next weekend. I'll look back on this and say this is one of those fights that proves that.
mhm,
I've taken a deep dive into nutrition and buying books and talking to nutritionists and all that stuff to and getting tests done and doing all these formulas to make sure that not only can I fight at 55, but that I should fight at 55 and that 55 is good for me. And I
mhm,
think the biggest thing now is, fighters, not just me, but fighters in overall just sacrifice so much for this sport with nothing promised.
mhm,
And I feel like I'm finding that middle ground of like, I can eat good and not sacrifice much. You know what I mean? Like for this fight camp, like I'm still eating really good and I'm lighter than I have been in my last few
mhm,
fights at lightweight. A week out from weigh-ins. But like I'm eating Nutella, bananas, rice cakes, my desserts after dinner is a rice cake with peanut butter and dark chocolate. Like I'm a fat kid at heart, so a little
mhm.
sweet tooth, it's great. But yeah, I've done some tests on my body and I've done plenty of formulas and stuff, and I think 55 is the spot for me. And like I said, all goes according to plan next week. I feel like we're going to see the best version of me at 155.
Yeah, and I could hear it in your voice too, which is comforting as a fan that watches, from the outside, especially at Cage Titans, which is like that's your home. That's you know what I mean? Like they every time I see something from Cage Titans, what social media marketing they do, even if you're not on the card, there's highlights of you in the video and stuff like that. And the fight that you're having, I know you fought Jacob Bone, your opponent. I know you guys have history. You fought him at 50, 51, 55. I
Something like
forget.
that. It was a couple years
Well,
ago.
yeah. So, facing a guy that you have history with like that, I mean, what's your approach to it? Because obviously he's probably coming with more tenacity because of the history shared and the knowledge. There's always two sides. Fans at least think there's always two sides of approaching a fight. It's either because you beat him and you know him cakewalk, or more caution, more awareness because he's coming at you harder than the last time. Well, how do you view this fight?
It's a brand new fight, you know what I mean?
Mm,
I look at Jacob Bone 2 years ago and Jacob Bone now as two completely different opponents. So I wouldn't say that I'm more cautious of them, but it's definitely not the same approach as the first fight. And I think that's my biggest advantage is I feel like the maybe not Bone. And I've said this a few times, maybe not Bone, maybe him, but the people around him seem to be sold on. I did miss weight the first time we fought, and I've been
mm,
trying to give him this rematch ever since. On weight. And I think the people around him are like, "Oh, well, he beat you because he missed weight." And I see the math they're doing. They're like,
mm,
"He missed weight against you and he won, but he made weight against Dufort and he lost." So if you
mm.
skip everything that's happened in the last 2 years and just take those two examples, like it makes sense. Like I should make weight next week and then lose to Bone. But that's just not how MMA math works.
No.
There's been so many fights between that. I've made weight so many times. Um, and I didn't say it after the fight with Bone the first time. Like that was the worst night ever. Like me and my corner, we joke about it all the time. In between rounds, the only thing they said to me was, "You look great. You're landing whatever you want. Just don't brawl with him." And I felt so bad in the cage. I could barely speak. I was just like, Can't. I'm just gonna go out there, put my weight on my lead foot, and we're gonna hit each other until one of us falls down. Um, which is like I joke about all the time. Like that's in the back of my mind. Like I just want to do that because that's like fun. Like that's what fans want to see. But as a career fighter, like that's not how I want to fight. For my
Mm,
health, that's not how I want to fight. And I'm better than that. Just even skill wise. Um, so I'm expecting Bone to be better, but I'm not comparing the two. 2 years ago and now. I'm just looking at who he is now, and I'm preparing for that, and I'm hoping he's preparing for the best version of me because I don't think that he is.
mm,
I think he's preparing for a better version of me, but not the best. I think this version of me is going to be something else, and I think I outclass him, honestly.
hmm. So, I mean, it sounds like from your point of view, you think on his side they're underestimating you because it's at 55.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, I could see where that math comes from. And I don't know if it's Bone, but I know it's from a lot of people around him. And I also know that you hang around people who are in your ear 24/7. It
Mhm.
does kind of get in there where you're like, maybe they're right. He did miss weight and then he won and then he made weight and he lost. Maybe that's like correlated. And it's just not the case. So I'm really excited to get in there.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see it, man. That's good. That's going to be a good fight. That whole card looks really good. On the it's Cage Titan 65 next weekend. And you and Bone looks like you and Bone are the main event on that one. So I'm looking forward to it. Joe, thanks for making time to talk. I'm glad you sound healthy. You look healthy, ready to go back in the
Yes, sir.
in the winning column. And if you want to shout out any sponsor or anything before I let you go, by all means, go ahead.
Yeah, all my sponsors, I say it time and time again, like these fight camps are not possible without you guys. Two Fight Bros, Ane Reels, Cage Then Podcast, Second Wind Brewing down in Plymouth, Uncle Charlie's in Weymouth is the best diner on the South Shore. If you're ever in the area, go to Uncle Charlie's. And without a sponsorship, I'm promoting that place. They're so good.
I'm
Um,
writing that down.
but yeah, no, everybody, it's awesome. Everybody that buys tickets and T-shirts. Um, it might sound like a broken record at this point, but like it does help out so much. So whether it's me or somebody else, guys, go buy a t-shirt, go buy a ticket directly from that fighter. It just helps out. And it's one less thing we stress about. And do it before fight week. I shut my phone off on Monday. So if you want tickets from me after Monday, you're not going to get an answer on the phone. So ASAP.
All right. Well, thanks again, Joe. Good luck to you.
No problem. Thank you very much.